I didn't plan on becoming any of it really, but it started out as an environmentalist. So I was really into environment and I wanted to protect my environment. So I started out as an environmentalist, but as it progressed and we started replanting mangroves, I realized that the community couldn't really survive with just replanting and conserving. They needed monetary incentives. So that's how I became an eco-social entrepreneur. And from there on, it really took off. My very earliest memory is when I was at the Young Zoologists Association. I used to go volunteer at the Deola Zoo, and I used to hang with a bunch of kids who loved the environment and animals, and we used to even help clean some of the bird cages. So that was my earliest memory of it. In Sri Lanka, I think we really need to focus on policy changes, especially towards environmental laws, sustainability laws. And it's very refreshing to see that we are taking a new stance towards renewable energy development in Sri Lanka especially. But we really need to work on carbon emissions and green gas emissions, especially towards ensuring that Sri Lanka is an example to the rest of Asia as well and the world. My most cherished memory is when I work with my villagers, my community, and we are able to sell our handmade products, and seeing the smiles on their face after they get their cash incentives back, and how they take it back to their children, and how they're able to help their children get the small things, and that really helps them and really helps their children as well. That's a tough one. I would say passionate, dedicated, and hardworking. So I went in as a young expert from the Commonwealth. So initially they didn't take people, they took only 25 people from all over the Commonwealth, and they didn't take people by their country, they took people by their experience and what they've been doing at grassroots level especially. And my involvement was in creating the first draft for a gender agenda, especially throughout the Commonwealth. So it was us working with research that was being done before, and we were able to draft this gender agenda, which would go to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And it would also represent things like education, entrepreneurship, and how all of it relates to gender and not just and isolate gender as a separate issue, because all of it is cross-cutting. My fondest childhood memory is me and my brother going to Polgada Lake and us actually trying to row a boat and toppling and trying very unsuccessfully to turn it over and seeing a crocodile in the distance. But I think that was a very exciting memory to have. I think it did, because I was able to really go for things like Model United Nations. I was also part of things like the Red Cross Society and Environmental Society, and I was also part of a lot of teams. I played football, I played things like I was in the athletics team, I did swimming, and also all these other societies which I think really helped me work with teams and build a certain kind of ability to really ensure that people are brought together for a greater cause, and that we are able to work together, especially towards ensuring that young people get more opportunities. And especially through school, I think a lot of teachers were very supportive, and they were also very encouraging, so I was able to really gain a lot through school. That's a tough one because sometimes it's not always very easy to be super motivated all the time, but it's that there's a saying, respice finem. It's Latin for look towards the end, and the end is a sustainable, beautiful, amazing Sri Lanka, and that is something that you strive for and that you really, really want. So at any point, even if you feel a little low, that will keep me motivated. I get inspired by the smallest things, be it people, the smallest stories, even about just like one person making a difference. I heard a story about this gentleman who has a hotel in a very rural area, but he's turned it into a social enterprise by getting all the villagers on board. So he's helping the community, he's helping himself. So things like that, people doing amazing things in their personal capacities. Every little thing inspires me, especially when I see something good. My role models. I think they've significantly changed since the past years, but Wangari Maathai will always be one of my biggest role models because she inspired a movement, she changed laws to protect the environment, all through personal struggles, and she remains one of the most leading authorities in environmental conservation and sustainable development. And I also look up to people like Ahmed Al-Hendawi, who's one of the Youth on Voice for the UN, because he's doing some amazing work by coordinating young people with the United Nations, especially through the Secretary General's office. So my life's mantra would be to work really hard and to strive to do your very best, because most of the time we forget that we really need to work hard and we need to put the effort in. And so to do that, we need to really, really work hard. And my mantra would be work hard, stay committed, stay motivated, and stay healthy. I love reading. I was a nerd. I still am. I love learning and I love reading. So one of the best ways to do that is through reading books or reading magazines, articles, anything that I come across. So that really helps me unwind. So I'm currently working with the United Nations on creating better laws at policy level. So what I'm working on is ensuring that women and especially young girls have access to things like education, entrepreneurship, and even contributing towards sustainable development and supporting things like 25 for women, because it's important for young girls and young women to have the ability to have better representation and to understand things like entrepreneurship and creativity and education, and also especially protecting the environment to ensure that sustainable development is a reality. So most of my work revolves around things that cross-cut across those sections. The best piece I would give is stand up for yourself and do what you believe in and do what makes sense to you, because what you may do may not always make sense to other people, but it matters that you know where you're going, and it matters that you understand what you want to do with your life. So go for it and take risks, because if you don't take risks, it's not possible to really go forward and do what you want to do.